Welcome to this particular day that I'm going to be sharing with you this Tuesday live. I'm doing something just a tad bit different than what I normally do. I'm calling this the Creative Spa Day. And I'm a little bit early, so I'm going to give just a minute or two here for a few people to get on. And as that's happening, grab yourself something to drink if you're not actually going to be painting. You might even just find if you have a favorite fragrance, essential oil, something like that. Grab that also. And give me a second here. We'll wait for a few more people to come on. If you're listening to my, or not listening, but if you're reading my emails that are coming through, the emails I'm really sharing kind of a journey with whoops, we don't want to get rid of that light, do we? um, the journey in that I've been on here just recently. I really think that, well, I want to take care of my health. And as I've entered this new stage of my life, and weight gain has been more of a factor, and the lack of energy to exercise or to do certain things, and all those good things that come with this stage of life, I've decided to really put a good focus in for myself. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring my friends along with me just on this particular journey and share some of the things that I am coming across and learning and sharing with you. And one thing that I learned this past week, if you're on my email list, you've got an email about this. If you haven't seen it, go to your spam. I'm sure it's sitting in your spam. And it's about inflammation, and how I was listening to a doctor about how that inflammation ultimately creates, a factor in the diseases. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot because I am not the educator on this or experienced in this, but it is something to really pay attention to. And what the doctor was saying is that, if you've struggled a little bit with weight loss or whatever, then it has a lot to do with your body and inflammation. And I was like, ooh, and started looking up and Googling a little more about what is inflammation and what is that. And why is it hard for me to get up out of the chair? My knees hurt and all that stuff. So anyhow, I'm, like I said, I'm not the medical educator here, and so I'm not going to be taking you down that road. But some of the things I come across, I love to share. And just if anybody else is experiencing it, then that would be beneficial for them. The key factor of what I'm looking at is the amount of stress that I experience right now in my particular phase of life, and how is that affecting my health, and what can I do, more importantly, what can I do to counter that, and to really feel better and enjoy my life, because that's the key. I don't want to succumb to some of the things that start becoming a part of what we experience. I would like to go ahead and really make this a life that I experience, that I enjoy. So one of the key factors, of course, is sugar, which I love, and we all love sugar. But stress is a main factor. And just the things that, the stresses that come upon us create that inflammation, lack of rest, lack of exercise, etc. So let's get in. I'm going to use this creative time, and I'm going to consider it. I want to share with you what I did this morning for my quote unquote creative spa moment. And I called it that because do we not all love spa days? Oh my goodness. I've never actually gone in and experienced a full spa day, but the little things that that we get to enjoy, whether it's manicures or whether it's massages, whatever, those things are so relaxing. And so I thought, I want to create a space as I am working in my art that it feels like as if I was in a spa and experiencing a spa day. And so hence came the name Creative Spa Day. So this little video right here is what I started to create this morning. I'm going to walk you through it, my creative journey, and then answer any questions you have. So go ahead and post your name and that on the side, or where you're from. I'd love to know that. And any questions that pop up, or if you need me to pause and explain, let me know, because here we go. I have this wonderful journal. I've had this forever. It is all the pages are black, and picked it up. It was on sale years ago. And I thought, I'm going to use that. I jump around from several journals that I have. And I just thought that might be this would be a great one because of the black representing the whole thing about maybe some of the stresses that we're experiencing. It's just that feeling of lacking something else. So whether we're lacking feeling healthy, whether we're lacking feeling, whatever, etc. This is what I'm doing right now is I'm taking I've gathered up some of my collage pages. This is a book page, and I am using matte medium, the acrylic matte medium, as my gluing substance that I'm going to be gluing down these pages. And I didn't write, what you see me doing here is the middle of, I had ripped out a couple of the pages on here, and it left kind of some rough edges. And I didn't want to just skip these pages. I wanted to utilize them. So I am putting something over to help just hide some of that and then start this collage out. Now, some people love to collage. Some people don't care for it. It might seem complicated. They don't know what to do. It seems like it's just a mess of what, it's like, it just turns into a mess and it becomes frustrating. So let's walk through some of the steps on creating these collages. Also, the key factor I want to focus on today, this came out in an email yesterday. There is a statement that I have said many times, and I hear a lot of the artists that present say this. And have you ever heard something and all of a sudden your mind goes, wait a minute, that doesn't sound exactly right? Excuse me. And the statement was about let go of your perfectionist, which is true. Let go of that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be good. Give me a second while you're watching me glue this down. Got talking and I got a little tickle going there. When I thought about that thought, it just came to my mind that, okay, obviously, let me start with this. We say that to take the pressure off of ourselves. That is a very good thing. Take the pressure off of ourselves. So it has a purpose. However, what are we also kind of telling ourselves? I got thinking, are we telling ourselves that we're not as important or as, valued, as good, whatever word you want to use there, as somebody else that we might be creating this for? In other words, are we saying that we don't need to create beautiful things for ourselves? I don't know. That just went through my mind. And I was like, wait a minute. We, as an artist, as we create, we are creating beautiful things for ourselves. And so I wanted to change that statement and get rid of that one. And I wanted it to say, let go of the perfectionism within us and just, fly free to create something beautiful for yourself. Let yourself create something that you would enjoy, and that it's just the process of it, and enjoy that process and relax with it. So as I'm going through here, I am putting down and tearing up more and more pages for this project. I have a stash of magazine clippings, etc. And so I went earlier through. My first step was to go through that stash and to pull out things that grabbed my eye. And it really wasn't, it just was the color. It was something about the color, maybe the shape. This one, obviously, I did like the colors that were in it, but I liked that round feeling. It had a nice vertical feeling, but it also had these, because of the plates, that it's holding, the trays that it's holding, it has a round. And I thought, ooh, I like that. I like that feel. And so what I always do typically is I start to just randomly lay these things down, and I'm up in the top corner. I'm off of the screen a little bit, but I start usually in a corner and work my way down. And this truly is all about, where do you feel like something needs to be placed? And it's just following that thought and impression and going with, where does it feel like something needs to be added? Isn't that something we're always asking ourselves as we're maybe painting a project or working on something? We're always asking ourselves, usually at a certain point, well, where does it feel like something needs to be added? And as we do that, until we get that feeling of like settled, it feels complete, we usually continue to work on it. And that's the beauty of these just creative processes, is just letting that creative process happen and working with each one of this, that feeling and that thought. So I'm still working on this left page of my journal and placing down these pieces. And I decided to cut them apart, one so that I would have, rather than just one great big, image to lay down, I would have pieces of it. And then I want to always, this is the way I roll, okay? When I see something on the left, I want to be able to move somebody over to the other side, the right. Or if it's on the right, I want to move them to the left. And so I will place pieces of the what I'm working on over on the other side, so that it creates a little bit of a unity. This is actually just a cute little checker plaid paper, and I printed it off actually as for one of the projects I created for my art sisters. I gave them some printed pages, and this is just a really cute little green plaid, and it everything is focused around some flowers that I'll be using. So I found my focal points, what I wanted to stand out, my focal, and then created around that and pulled colors in that worked with it, that emphasized it. And this project, actually today, it's not going to be complete when we finish, but you'll be able to go over onto my website or on my page, Facebook page, if you prefer, and I'll post the finished project of it. But I've got it to a point where now I'm going to focus, my last step will be to actually put in details. So you're laying a foundation, you're putting down pieces in that, because you're creating the background. And it's my preference to not have too many sharp edges. And so I will rip and tear and work around things to get rid of some of that excess white and to get rid of the extras, the harsh pages, the harsh edges. let me know, do you like to collage? Are you an individual who likes collaging? Or what's some of your preferences? This When I pulled out some of the pages, I had pages that said Paris, and I have an image that's clocks that represent time. And so those little round pieces that I just put down are like coins. And to me, they represented like the foreign money that might be found in another country. And so as I'm working on this, I'm thinking about the shapes and how they work together, but I'm not thinking too much about the total design. I'm not getting caught up in is everything working? Do I have, I'm just putting paper down. And the neat thing about this stage right now is if there's things going on in your life and you're, how we kind of think through things. And this is a great process. Just ripping paper, and gluing it down is a great process to do to give you that ability to just kind of think through some of the things that's going on in your world. And as you're pondering and you're thinking, and obviously you're using your right brain, you're not getting too stuck in that left brain, worrying about all the details of everything and starting to worry too much. That creating and using your creative mind is helping to balance it out so that you can listen to impressions that come to you for solutions and think through situations. And so I find it, for me, extremely relaxing. And that's because my right brain, which I'm using as I'm laying down all these pages and these pieces and just kind of working through randomly. I'm not concerned about, every little detail of it. I'm just putting it down. Where does it feel like it wants to go? And not concerning myself of, is this right? Is this where it needs to go? Just going, oh, I think I have a spot here. This would be great right here. All right. And so putting it up there, that also frees up my, it gets rid of, I can't be sitting there worrying about something. And it frees up my left brain, my left side of my brain, to kind of think through some of the situations or some of the challenges that I'm finding in my current life and listen for those solutions or come up to some kind of resolve or just feel peace. If nothing else, a lot of times, you can't solve everything in a moment. It takes time. And so, but I can get myself unstuck and not be worried about something or too overly concerned because my mind is focusing more on what I'm putting down and just the process of picking up glue and painting over. So now what I'm done is, see, these are the pieces that I found. This is actually canvas paper, and I printed off these images of flowers. This is the hawthorn berry. This is the blossom with the hawthorn berry. And I'm just playing around right now and kind of laying it down and deciding where do I want this focal point to go? Where do I want it to, where am I going to place it? Is it going to be in the center like this to where it joins the two? And I liked that. But then I was a little concerned about the bending of the book, because this is canvas. This is actually a pretty stout little piece of paper, you might say. So that paper is canvas. And so it doesn't bend super easy. It will bend. But so I've kind of decided, let's put that to the side. And I had this wonderful piece. And I thought, oh, I haven't used this yet. And I'm going to add it in. Still just kind of covering up those black areas, black pieces of the page and laying it down. and I apologize because when I'm working, I'm trying hard. You see, I did notice I'm off camera there, but I get lost in the land of paper and paste, and I keep my camera pretty close to the what I'm working on so you can see it easily. And so I many times I go off camera, but I try to rectify it really quickly. Once I get this done, I want to I want to dry some of the acrylic medium, because when you start layering upon a wet layer, it's just hard to work with, and it takes a long time for things to dry. So I usually stop, take a few minutes, and since I was under a little bit of a time crunch with this, I used my heat gun to dry. But you could walk away from it. This is a great time right now to walk away from something, work on something else you need to do, and then have it ready for the next time that you want to have a little creative time. But I always try to dry in between my layers so that things lay right and the paint goes on, etc. Of course, when I go back to this video, I'll probably delete that part out or speed it up so we're not wasting a lot of time with that. My gesso, I have a large jar of it, but I put it in these small jars, and I haven't used this one in a good couple of months. And so what happens is it starts to lose the moisture out of it and it thickens. And so that's good if you want a really thick gesso, but I usually like to, my next step is to bring some kind of unity to this. Put the gesso over to create a small layer, and what it's doing is it's unifying, pulling things together so that it becomes one background, rather than blotches of color and that. I'll usually go for the edges of the images to cover those up so that you don't necessarily see a beginning and an end. As I was putting this down, as you notice, everything on here is dark. You got your dark images, the dark paper, the black paper. And so as I was putting this down, and of course, like I said, my whole goal is to bring that unity and unify everything. It started to feel like I was bringing light into the subject, working on those highlights and that. So this particular step is not only joining the piece together, creating a little bit of harmony and unity, covering over things so that you get just the hint of it being there. But it's also some areas you can keep darker, more light, more white, and it brings in those highlights, lifts up the highlights. And this is a process that's very therapeutic. It's just putting that gesso over and unifying the pieces, deciding which ones you want to cover and what areas you want to leave showing through. So I would say the next step, the second step, after you lay everything down, you put down all your pieces, the second step is to then start creating unity. Bringing it together. Because you're wanting to create one background that you're going to build upon. And all those little pieces that you laid down before this point represent maybe all the scattered thoughts, all the things that are going on in your world. And you're now working at creating a balance between all of it so that it all flows together. I love using gesso at this point. I also have a clear gesso. And if I use that, I don't use it often, but when I do, it's when I'm trying to layer another layer on top, and I need that tooth and that for whatever I'm putting down to stick. And you kind of step back and you look at it a little bit as you're drawing, and just see what it's starting to tell you, because now what you're doing is you're going to start to create the story. And the story is where you are adding and color and that to it, and you're defining areas. I really liked working with the canvas paper. It's very easy to use your printer and print something off, to print on it. Super easy. And so if you've got a project and you can actually print onto that canvas paper your template and that, and then start painting from that point. I had cut this out before I started, but now I've decided I'm going to really just bring it down to a smaller scale, a smaller size. And I wanted to place it in the right corner, which is what I'm looking at right now. You can't see it, but I am deciding what part of this image. Do I keep the whole image? And I decide, no, I'm going to separate it. And I'm cutting around these flowers here. Start placing it on. And I'm using a regular, not regular, it's your tacky glue on the back of the canvas to really stick it down. And I used the one piece that I had cut. As you noticed, I wanted to emphasize the postcard words. And then I have this other image of, it's like a little group of village people that are sitting there and enjoying each other, relaxing, playing. And I thought this goes really good with the whole theme of those clocks and that. They're not concerned about time. They're just enjoying their life and playing. That tacky glue works really well to glue that canvas down. I was really pleased with it. Get that all glued down, and then we'll move on to the next step. If you haven't tried canvas paper, I just picked it up off of Amazon, and I strongly suggest you give it a try. If you've got any questions, go ahead and post those. Find the spot for that and lay that down. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to place this fun little family, so I'm just experimenting a little bit with that. Moving that glue around. And drawing in between the layers. I have this, this is canvas also, and it's just a black and white. And the contrast I thought would be perfect. This is one of my favorites. Paints, colors to use. Zero. I always have a challenge saying it. Azilarian crimson hue. Azilarian crimson hue. Challenging to say. Yes, it is. But it's one of my favorites. I love the color. And what I'm going to do is put it down. And I'm going to start now blocking areas out. Just adding light, little bits, just a little light area at first, and bringing in some color over that, all that white. Blocking out around the flower. We're still working on that background, even though we have the focal points down. I'm still working on bringing it out more. And that's what I'm doing is I'm working at what's called the negative space. So I'm working around the flower, the image I have, and I'm focusing on the negative space. And I think if you use the colors that you love and use that in your artwork, you're going to love how it turns out. It's going to be beautiful because you've already got, things that you love using. I would always do that, especially if you're following, even if you're following, I tell my students as they're working, I'm giving you some colors that I'm using, but if you prefer, I always encourage them to, use the colors that speak to them. What do they enjoy? It'll make a huge difference in your work. And you're going strictly by feeling with this. I have to be careful I don't overdo it. And so you just want to, it's blotchy, yes, but you realize that it's going to come together. You just are getting some color down and you're just working with things. This step that I'm working on right now is another therapeutic step because it's like you're blocking out and eliminating all the commotion, all the confusion. You're keeping what you want, what's important, but you're getting rid of those things that seem to be adding a lot of confusion in your life. I find it so interesting as I'm working and I'm sitting painting. It's like you think through a lot of things and you come up with some solutions and some ideas. Such a beautiful process, wonderful gift. blend it in now with the gesso. Take a little bit of the gesso and blend it in, work back and forth. And I'm creating, using the paint, I'm using gesso and creating that a little bit of pink. I just want it all to flow. So the whole goal is unity. You're always thinking, what, you want variety in your work. You want that variety, that change in that. But what actually? So using the using your gesso to kind of go back over and blend it and bring out more highlights is a great. You're at that step right now. Just starts emerging as I'm blocking out more space for my flowers so that the attention is going to go towards it instead of what's there on that page. And even as I'm painting this on and playing with it, and sometimes it goes over the my images of the flowers. I know that at the end I'm going to come back and I'll be adding the details and I'll be painting back over those flowers. And so there again, I relax and I just play with the color and the paint and realize that I am going to bring back some, better definition, a little more clarity towards the end. Out comes the gesso again. See, it's just layer upon layer. You're just playing and just working back and forth. Nice thing is, as it's wet, if you get too much on and you're not, it's like, oh, I wanted to do it a little bit something different. Grab your towel and Wipe it off. And see how this is just coming together? I love how that what's it called again? The crimson hue. I love that color. And then putting the gesso over it to kind of soften it, bring it so it's not so bright, or not bright, but just, not so intense. There's the word. Bringing down some of the intensity a little bit with it. This background is really taking shape. If I found an area that once you're kind of working with it and you've got color going over it, if it becomes too dark, I used my gesso and went right over it. Loosened it up, lightened it up. Give yourself a good look at it. I'm still trying to figure out where to put that image. I love the image. I'm just not quite satisfied on where am I going to put it. Even though I placed it there, that's not where it ended up. I have these other little images of old pictures of like this woman, and I thought, oh, I remembered seeing that as I was gathering my papers. I thought, okay, I originally wanted to use her, but I had lost her in the shuffle, and so I went and found her for a second. And gluing this down, I'm still using the craft glue that I had, covering that up. I'm determined I'm going to put this picture in, but I'm still trying to decide where. And maybe if I cut it, just experiment. You can cut it in half, which is what I did there. And then I just ended up going ahead and putting them together anyway, but I'm placing them down. Put my glue on. And gluing that down. I'm just trying to arrange it, mess with it a little bit, make sure it's in the spot. And I found its home finally. I decided I wanted to calm it down now. The red makes it intense. It's got a lot of energy to it. I want to now just calm it down. And so I'm going to pull out the turquoise, and the turquoise I use is a Deco Art. It's Laguna. And I'm also going to pull out a green and put on my palette. So, because I love the combination of blue, turquoise, and green. Mixing it up. When I poured it out, I didn't shake it really super well, and so a lot of the liquid that came out, I needed to mix back in with the pigment. And it takes me a few minutes to do that. Don't you find that first little, when you're putting it down, it's a little nerve wracking unless you've got, exactly where it's supposed to go. But when you're just putting it down and adding the color to it, you have to just bite the bullet, go for it. And so I placed it down and started blocking out again and covering up some of that red, because that was the goal, as I wanted it to calm it down a little bit. And I love the combination of how that turquoise is working with the red. I've gone ahead and I did horizontal lines here just to give a little bit of a variety rather than just patches of color. I wanted some of that line work to add some interest. So think about that when you're putting down. And I'm always looking to how, keeping that balance, how everything stays unified. I don't want the eye to go to anything else but the focal point and this background to complement. So you want to keep things unified with it. I've added some green on top of this so that they complement each other. Still working it, toning it down, blending it together. It's such a calming process to just put that paint down and it is quite abstract, so it's not always appealing to everyone. I love to, I don't know if love is the right word, but I do, I use my fingers a lot because you can navigate that paint where it's going and I like the control I have. playing with it back and forth. Use my finger to blend it in. Now we've come to the point of where in our actual work here, I'm going to switch cameras. Let me bring up another camera. Extra camera. And let's change that. Let's remove that and add this. And I want that to go larger. So it takes me a minute to figure out which one does that. Oopsie, sorry. Okay. All right. So welcome back. We've got to that point. When where we were at the end is where I needed to stop because to start my live, and I had been working on it. Let me show you what I have been working on now with it. I left the background was complete, and I've now been working on the canvas part of the flower. And you can always go back over and start painting over what's there, which is super fun to do. So, gee, I'd love to get this into it. Let me try this. Oh my goodness, sorry. There we go. Start painting over it and bringing a little more emphasis in it. So as you can see, these flowers here, I painted over it. That one area that was just a portion of it, I went ahead and created working on a cluster of flowers there. And then I have this other one down here. And so you can, if you want to stay and watch for just a little bit longer, I'm going to continue working on painting over the flowers and bringing them out. Now we're working on the detail of it and emphasizing the focal point, working on all the details. So let's see. Come back to this one and wipe off that white. I'm playing back and forth. It's with adding, and then maybe I've got too much on there, so I go back over it. But for me personally, this is the wonderful, I love this process of actually just playing back and forth, painting it back and forth. And if I don't like it and it's not quite what I have, my intention or what's in my mind, I just keep working with it. Just because I can always take it and paint over the whole thing, right? And do that. And I want a little bit of yellow on the tips of these petals. And so that's what I'm coming back in. And I did end up, when I created this cluster, I wanted more of a flowing feeling. And so I ended up covering up my postcard, which is okay. Because there again, this is, you're creating a piece of work for you. And you're giving yourself a creative spa moment. Just think of how wonderful and relaxing that is. And if you had essential oils that are going in a diffuser. Wow, what a great experience to just give yourself some moments to relax. And now we're going to put out, I'm putting over what this is this is actually this color right here. It's a multi-surface. It's called Camel. And it's just an acrylic paint. But a lot of times it shows on the top. You can use it to paint on glasses or pails or different things. All right. So I'm putting that Camel over the yellow. I want just a little bit of yellow showing through, bit of that highlight, and painting up that flower. And all right, let's see. Now I've got that. I'm going to come back. I let it sit for a second. And this is all dry over here on this side. So while that is drying, I need to just give me a second while I wipe off. I moved over onto my palette paint. While that's drying, I can grab my acrylic, my Sharpie, Micron pen. Those are really good. And put in some more black and white. Maybe draw just a little bit more of that. Create. And you're just adding a little bit more here for interest. I don't know why, but I keep thinking about framing her, putting some lines around and actually sketching her in and framing her so that she becomes part of that. Could put some grasses down here. And just mostly because my goal is to bring the line work in so that it's actually part of the image. Okay, there, like that. I'm going to grab a jelly roll. 5. Where's my 10s? Oopsie. Hopefully that wasn't my 10. That went overboard. Isn't that pretty? Love that page. I've got to come back. I want to put some of the red on there some more. But I'm going to go with this here. Careful as I touch it. And I'm going to frame this out. And it's going to be sketchy. which this is another word for, can you see? Oh, goodness, Kathy, move that. I'm not going to go over that leaf. I want to leave that leaf. But this is kind of, now you're working on the detail work. What did I do there? I did something to my camera. Let's see. Let me see what I did. It's probably telling me. Well, it's starting the video over is what it's doing. We're not going to do that. I don't know what it did. But I can tell you this. I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on my page. It'll also be in the little art village. I'll post it in there, and you can see the final of what I created with it. Thank you for joining me today and just being part of this little creative spa day. And I hope that it inspired you to get your paints out and to create something that's actually just beautiful for yourself. Let me lift this up here. Wow. There we go. Let's lift this up. You can see I'm really pleased with how that's coming out and just painting on that. I'm having a wonderful time, and it's the purpose. It's all for enjoyment and to enjoy it ourselves. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Kathy Freeman, KathyFreemanArt.com, thelittleartvillage.com. You can catch me over there also and see what we've got going on in our art village. I've got a blog in there that I'm posting things and other classes that you can see for free. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for showing up.